What's up, guys? This is Brian Mounts. I run turfmechanic.com in this channel, and today I'm coming to you with a video that's just interesting. This is not a tutorial. You can take whatever information out of it that you want and apply it however you want. I just find this stuff fun. What I want to show you today is, I guess, the power, the strength, the importance of putting organic top dressing down on a lawn right after you core aerate. Now, I know a lot of people, they core aerate and then they overseed. What I like to do, what I think is really beneficial before you overseed, if you're going to overseed, is to put down organic matter as a top dressing over your lawn after a core aeration. The reason for that is the best opportunity you're ever going to have to literally inject organic material into your lawn. You know, we top dress on top of a lawn and it just sits on top. It sits on top and it kind of incorporates top down. It goes underneath the leaf canopy of the turf grass if you don't apply it too thick, and then it just sits on top of the soil. We hope that it gets incorporated, but by core aerating, we can ensure that it gets down in there. Let me show you what's going on. All right, so as you see here, here's my tree that I planted a couple weeks ago. Today is March 12th. March 12th. So most of our grass is still dormant, and I am slowly in the process of core aerating manually my entire lawn. So everything that you see right here to here and to there has been core aerated. In fact, here are the piles of the cores that I have yet to scoop up off the ground. And here are all the little holes that you see. There's a whole bunch of them. Now, doing simple math, if you're pulling a 1/2 inch core, on average about 2 inches in depth, then that is about 0.39 cubic inches of material. Now, I'm striving for 24 cores per square foot, and I've done approximately 350 square foot. So if you do all of the math there, you end up getting to about 1.9 to 2 cubic feet of material that I have pulled up out of the lawn right in this section. Right there, right to the start of the garden bed over there. Now over here, I'm not going to do anything because I want to have a side-by-side where we can see the difference. Now, I'm going to go ahead and scoop up the rest of these dried up cores off the ground, throw them into a bucket to find some use for them later on. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm applying to the ground as a top dressing, because it's kind of interesting, I think. All right, I got it all cleaned up. And here are my mysterious products. So let's talk about what I'm going to be putting down on the lawn. Now, I got worm castings here. I've talked about this in a past video. The video where I woke up that green patch over there back in February. Worm castings, this is a 1 cubic foot bag. I went to a local garden store here in my town to buy this. I spent $15 for 1 cubic feet. This is an expensive product, and this is one of the cheaper bags of worm castings that I've ever come across. Worm castings tend to be rich in micronutrients, like tons of micronutrients. Lots of things that we don't even think of to put on the lawn. I have seen references to worm castings having something along the lines of like 60 to 70 different kinds of micronutrients in them. As for their NPK rating, average NPK ratings for worm castings is somewhere in the vicinity of 100. Possibly slightly higher than that in the nitrogen category, depending on the brand. This bag doesn't even label it as an NPK, I don't believe. Point being is this stuff, let's see, like a pound of this can hold something like 9 pounds of water. So it's enormous amount of moisture retention, tons of nutrients getting injected into the soil. Here I got some peat moss. Most of us know what peat moss is. Peat moss doesn't really have any nutritional value, but it does condition the soil. It allows for water retention and just kind of a general loosening of the soil when it's incorporated into the growing medium. There are some trace minerals and whatnot in it, especially in the higher quality peat mosses. This, for the most part for me, I'm using this as a filler to lower the cost of application. Peat moss is frequently used to do that as well. It's blended into things to keep costs down because it's beneficial and it doesn't cost very much. Now, it will also break down. This is compostable, so it's a carbon-based component to a compost pile. So in the lawn, once you get it underneath the soil surface and all of the worms and the bugs and the microbes are going through it, it will slowly break down and compost. It starts off a little bit pH acidic, pH low, and over time as it composts and incorporates into the soil, it will normalize kind of in that 7.0 range, maybe like 6.8, 6.9, just somewhere in that range. In addition to that, I'm going to be putting down this product called Green Sand. This is from the Down to Earth company. I've used their humic acids before, and we've got some other products in the garage that we use in our garden. Green sand, as you notice, does not have an NPK rating on this box. However, some green sand boxes from other companies, bags from other companies, will label this as high as a 003. Green sand, if you're unfamiliar with it, and I would be surprised if you were familiar with it, green sand is kind of the sedimentary product that's harvested from marine layers, like under the sea. Honestly, I could do a lot more research on the harvesting of green sand, and I probably will do that and maybe bring it up in future videos. But point being is, for hundreds of years, this has been used as a soil amendment, similar to how peat moss and worm castings work. It will retain moisture really well. It contains an enormous amount of micronutrients and just miscellaneous trace minerals and things that help in very, very mysterious ways. This is, from what I understand, a very high quality product, and that right there, it's a 5 pound, 5 pounds for a lawn setting. This is not normally spread on lawns, but references that I've found through studies out there say that roughly 15 pounds goes down on every 1,000 square feet of lawn space. So since I'm dealing with 350 square feet, I'm going to be putting 5 pounds down on the whole thing. Now, this is going to have some slow release potassium in there. It's a natural organic source of potassium in the world. So I'm excited to kind of see what it does. So anyway, I'm going to mix all three of these products together, just kind of on the lawn, since none of them are true fertilizers. It's not going to be precise. I'm just going to kind of spread it randomly across the lawn as evenly as I can. And then I'm going to start brushing it into all of these holes. Holy moly. That was actually quite hard to spread worm castings through that broadcast spreader. But man, it is a fine dusting. You can't even tell that it's there. Put about half of a cubic foot of worm castings down on this 350 square foot section. Next, we'll do the peat moss. All right, pardon the chickens back there, but now you see I've got pretty even coverage. I got this light brown tinge to the entire lawn in this space. To summarize what we got here, we've got 5 pounds of green sand spread evenly. It's like a dust, man. You cannot have any wind, otherwise it's going to be blowing everywhere. But that's spread out evenly across the whole thing. I've got about half a cubic foot of earthworm castings. Now the green sand, that 5-pound box, I bought that at my store for $10. You can buy them in gigantic packs too. The worm castings I also bought at my gardening store. This bag was 15 bucks, so I used half of it. That was about $7.50 right there. And then I'm estimating I probably put down about a cubic foot and a half or so of peat moss, maybe a cubic foot and a half, and stuck that down everywhere. Got it all spread out. I don't remember exactly what the bag of peat moss was. I don't know, maybe around $15, $20. So now I'm going to go brush it in and see if I can get as much of this into the cores that I pulled as possible, and then we're going to wait it out and see what it all looks like in a couple weeks. Oh my goodness. Don't let anybody kid you. This is hard work. I enjoy it though. Look at this. At this point I can't see, at least through the camera, anything. So I got the green sand down, I got the worm castings down, I got the peat moss down. The vast majority of it's peat moss, but the green sand you don't need so much, and the worm castings I went much lighter on my dose than I did over here on that green patch. So I'm curious to see how that will, oh, I gotta catch my breath. I'm curious to see how that does over the next couple weeks without the use of the greenhouse while everything else is dormant. I'm gonna kick on the sprinklers to water it in, water it in. I'm not really gonna water it in. I just wanna moisten everything because all of that stuff is supposed to retain water. Peat moss, I don't want it to get all blown away with the wind. It actually takes a while to hydrate peat moss. So I'm going to kick the sprinkler on for probably about 30 minutes and then shut it off, and then sprinklers are going to go on regularly in a few weeks as temperatures start coming up a bit. All right, so here we are on the morning of March 30th. It's been, a couple weeks or so since I did the core aerating and the top dressing on this area. And this is not a dramatic difference because I didn't actually top dress it with any fertilizer. There is obviously a little tiny bit of nitrogen in the earthworm castings, but you can see the line right here, like fairly dramatically. Over there is darker and it does look a little bit less dormant. Let's come over here into the light and see if we can see a line over here. The lighting might make this hard. Depending on the lighting angle, you can see the line right there, right along the sidewalk. It's less dramatic over here, and you got to get the lighting just right to see it. But in any event, what we put down was peat moss, which will slightly acidify the soil temporarily, but also the green sand and the worm castings are adding tons of micro nutrients, trace minerals and things in there, things that are going to make that grass healthy over the long run. So even though you can barely see the difference, at least you can see the difference. And at least I know that this area of the lawn is going to be a little bit healthier because of the work.